My family didn't show up for my son's surgery. 3 days later, Mom texted, need $10,000 for your sister's wedding dress. I sent $1 with buy avail, then froze their access to my accounts. My son, Noah, was 8 when he needed surgery. It wasn't life or death, but it wasn't routine either. The doctors found a problem with his intestine that had been causing pain for months. After tests, referrals, and specialist appointments, they finally scheduled the operation. The surgery was set for a Thursday morning. My wife and I spent weeks preparing ourselves. Noah was scared. Every night before bed, he'd ask if it was going to hurt. I told him the same thing every time. You'll wake up, and Mom and Dad will be right there. My family knew everything. My parents knew the date. My sister, Madison, knew the date. My aunt, uncle, and cousins all knew. They'd spent years reminding me that family always comes first. I believed them. 3 days before the surgery, my mother called. We're all coming, she said. Your father, Madison, everyone. I remember feeling relieved. For once, it felt like they were showing up. Thursday morning came. We arrived before sunrise. Noah changed into a hospital gown that looked 3 sizes too big. He tried to joke about it, but his hands shook when the nurse attached his wristband. My wife held one hand. I held the other. When they wheeled him away, he looked back at us. I forced a smile. Then the doors closed. The waiting room felt enormous after that. My wife and I sat there for hours. Every time the elevator opened, I looked up. Every time someone walked through the doors, I checked. Nobody came. Not my parents. Not Madison. Not anyone. Around noon, I texted my mother. Everything okay? No response. An hour later, I called. Straight to voicemail. I called my father. Nothing. Madison didn't answer either. The surgery finished successfully. The surgeon came out smiling. My wife cried from relief. I sat there staring at my phone. Still nothing. Later that evening, my mother finally texted. Sorry, busy day. That was it. No question about Noah. No apology. Nothing. I stared at the screen for a long time before putting my phone away. 3 days later, I learned exactly what had been keeping them busy. Madison was getting married in 6 weeks. She'd been planning the wedding for over a year. At dinner that night, my phone buzzed. A message from Mom. Need $10,000 for Madison's dress. I actually laughed. My wife looked up from across the table. What? I handed her the phone. She read it twice. Then she started laughing too. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. The thing is, I'd spent years being the family's emergency fund. When Dad needed help covering a business loss, I paid. When Madison couldn't afford rent, I paid. When Mom wanted a new car after hers broke down, I paid. Every loan was temporary. None of it was ever repaid. A few years earlier, Dad convinced me to add my parents to a financial account I managed. It'll make things easier if anything happens. At the time, I trusted him. Big mistake. Over the years, small withdrawals started appearing. A few hundred here, 1,000 there. Whenever I asked, there was always an excuse. Family emergency, unexpected bill, temporary problem. I let it slide. Then came the hospital. Then came the wedding dress. I opened my banking app. I stared at her message again. Need $10,000 for Madison's dress. My son had been lying in a hospital bed 3 days earlier. Not one of them had bothered to visit. Not one of them had even called him afterward. I transferred exactly $1. Then I replied, buy avail. A minute later, my phone started ringing. Mom declined. Dad declined. Madison declined. The group chat exploded. What is wrong with you? Are you trying to embarrass your sister? Family supports family. I ignored every message. Instead, I called my bank. The representative spent 20 minutes helping me remove every authorized user from every account. Checking, savings, investment accounts, everything. When we finished, I changed passwords, updated security settings, and closed the remaining shared access. For the first time in years, every dollar was actually mine. The next morning, Dad called from a different number. I answered, why did you remove us? I almost admired the question. Not, how's Noah? Not, how's your family? Just money. You didn't come to the hospital. Silence. Then he sighed. Madison had wedding appointments. I waited. That was apparently the entire explanation. Okay, I said, you chose. Then I hung up. The wedding happened a month later. I wasn't invited. Neither was my wife. Neither was Noah. A cousin sent me photos afterward. My parents looked happy. Madison looked happy. Everyone smiled for the camera. A week later, another message arrived from Mom. Your father says you've overreacted. Can we move on? I didn't answer. Instead, I opened an envelope that had arrived that morning. It contained the final paperwork from the bank confirming every account change had been completed. No shared access. No permissions. No secondary users. Nothing. I filed the paperwork away. Then I walked into the living room. Noah was stretched out on the couch, fully recovered, arguing with my wife about which movie to watch. Neither of them looked up when I sat down beside them. They just made